Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for the warm reception. I took this invite because the very first person I dated, my first girlfriend, she attended Babcock. So I called her today and I told her that, see, I'm in your school. And she's like, hey. Says, tell them that it's because of me that you're here today. So, but then I'm also excited to be here to share a bit of my story. So at first, I had made a presentation and it was going to be very heavy on the aspire to perspire. But then I can't use my presentation today. So I'll just try to be as vulnerable as possible with my story and I hope that in some way it would also resonate with your own journey. So my name is Tunde Onakoya and I'm an area boy. And I know this is very sensitive for a lot of people right now because, in the wake of these elections and everything that happened. Well, I was an area boy before this election period. And the journey of becoming an area boy started some 5 years ago. But before then, let me give you a little background, so you have more context to my story and how I ended up as an area boy. I grew up in Ikorodu. Did anyone grow up in Ikorodu? Yeah. Yes, let's give her a round of applause. 2 people. So I grew up in Ikorodu, in a place called Isalodo. It's a slum community. And we had a very difficult childhood. A lot of it was just because, my parents struggled, right, to send us to school. And after my primary school education, I had to stay at home for 2 years. Now, in those 2 years I was at home, I discovered chess, right? I discovered the gift of chess by going to this barber shop to play video games. And on that day, he brought out a small plastic chess set. And I'd never seen a chessboard before. So I asked him, what is this? And he said, oh, it's chess. And I said, chess? And he said, chess. And he wanted to tell me the names of the pieces. But then he looked at me and said, you know what, you're too young to learn. Chess is a very complex game for smart people, but you can watch. So I took it as a challenge and I kept watching them. I wasn't in school, so I would just go there every day. And I watched them play. And eventually, I was able to just pick up the rules of the game by just watching. Now, I got back into school because my mom made an important sacrifice for me at the time. Unfortunately, the school I attended, we actually did chess as a subject. And I got really good, really fast. And you can imagine that for a kid from Ikorodu that had very little exposure, right? I won a tournament for the first time, and I brought a trophy home. And I saw my dad cry for the first time, because he was so proud of me. No one in our family had ever won a trophy. And I was good at chess. I knew very little about the world or people or places. But this one thing that I had discovered, I was really good at it. And it gave me the confidence, even as an 11-year-old kid, that I could be good at anything. It gave me a way to find a place in this world. And that is what my topic is, a place in the world. And how it intersects with being able to think critically about where we want to make our mark. So chess gave me a way to find my place in the world because it helped me believe that I could be the best at something and I could also be intellectually inclined. And that was my journey from, secondary school to college. And I was on a full ride scholarship because I represented my school. I went pro. I got my national master title. I was ranked number 13 in Nigeria at some point. I won a couple of tournaments. And the summary is chess changed my life. It set my life on a much different trajectory. And 5 years ago, I made a decision, which turned out to be the most important decision of my life, to take the same privilege that I had, the same opportunities that chess gave me, and find a way to pay it forward. Now, 5 years ago, 2018, I was very broke. I didn't have a job. I'd finished school in 2015, and I struggled for a bit, right? So I had this idea at the time, because I used to play piano in church, and I told my friends that since we were jobless, why not just teach some of the kids in this place where you guys used to go and smoke. They used to go there to smoke in one place called Lungu, and there were a lot of children that would come there and smoke with them. And I thought, why can't you just teach them chess, right? Just as a way to help them see a different kind of reality, right? Because for most of us, we may not understand the reality of people that live in slums, but it's one where it's hard for them to dream, because you can't dream about something you don't even know, like something you've never seen. So there's no sense of a higher purpose. And I thought, if I could teach them chess and they could become really good at it, that could give them a way out of the slums, and it could help them find a place in the world, just like it did for me. And that was the idea, and I had faith in that idea. And I remember the first few people I told about this idea, and they were like, so how would chess put food on the table? And I was like, okay, I can't answer that question, but I knew one thing was going to give them an identity. And now this is why this is an important framework to view social issues like this. When we think about people that live in poverty or live in the slums, we think about them as a charity case, as giving them handout, as helping them because they can't help themselves. But we forget that these people are people that are incredibly gifted with so much potential. The only gap is the lack of opportunity, lack of access. So in my mind, I was like, even if chess wasn't going to put food on their table immediately, it was going to do something for the children. It was going to give them an identity and a sense of belonging, right? So the perception now changes from, children living in poverty, to children that actually have the ability to do something. And I think that changes the entire premise. So it's not, this boy is suffering, he has kwashiorkor. No, it's, despite all of these things, this boy is a chess master. And when you look at people based on what they have the ability to do, not just what they look like or their background, right? You give them the opportunities they deserve. So I was like, if a child here can become a champion, people will give that child the opportunity that he or she deserves. And I had that, and that was the idea. That was the faith in that idea, even without knowing how it was going to save them from poverty or put food on their table. And that was it. And we started. And that was all the conviction that I needed. 5 years down the line, a lot has happened, right? I've had the privilege of this lifetime to meet more than 5,000 children, right? And I've left a part of myself with them through the gift of chess. We've had children that have won scholarships abroad just because they play chess and they're good at it. We've done a lot of phenomenal things. We did a project in Oshodi Under Bridge that used to be like a notorious crime spot. And we brought people from all over the world. Patrice Evra came to Oshodi Under Bridge for the first time because he wanted to come and learn from children. Homeless children, the area boys that were living on the bridge. Journalists came from all over the world. The Canadian High Commissioner, the Royal Naval team, they all came to sit at the same table to learn and play chess against the area boys. Now, why did this happen? Was it another case of charity and Africa, poor children, let us go and spend some time with them for the optics? No, that wasn't the case. And this is where I think this intersects with our individual journey here. Now, there's a lot of talk about how Africa has so much potential. When people talk about Africa, it's never about, ability, but about potential. But then potential is nothing if it's not realized, right? And it is important that we begin to move the conversation from just potential, right, to what we can truly become. And that was the story of those children under Oshodi Bridge. It was no longer the single story or the stereotypes that we had about them being tools in the hands of politicians to disrupt elections or whatnot, but about them now having the ability to do something. Now imagine if you now gave them access to other opportunities. Imagine if you gave them access to technology. Imagine if you gave them access to education. And people saw that, and people came to watch them, and that changed their lives. And by just doing that, by just being courageous enough to become an area boy too, for the sake of those children, so we could own that narrative and tell another story that was different from the single story that we had always known. We helped 51 children find their place in the world again. But this all started because somebody gave me an opportunity to carve my own space in this world that is constantly evolving. Now, for a lot of us young people here, you're still in school right now, and in some way, the school system shields you from what is happening out there. But someday, you're going to leave here, and you're going to go into the real world. And all of this education that you're getting is to prepare you for the real world, for the actual world. A lot of it will be useless, right? A lot of it is just theory that you never get to see again, right? But all of these things is preparing you, right, to understand how society works. And I like to think about education beyond these four walls of this place as a capacity for thought, the capacity for critical thinking, capacity for independent thinking, right? The capacity for problem solving. And I think that is the mandate that we all have here, that whatever gift, whatever skill or ability that you're nurturing right now, and you know it's deep down, right? It's deeply rooted inside of you. The only thing between that skill, that ability that you have, right, and what the world needs is your courage. The courage to dare greatly. When I told people that chess could change the world, it was a ridiculous idea. It was just ridiculous. Nobody believed that this could become a thing. It was something not anyone had ever done in the world, at least not in this context. And I had faith in that idea, and I pushed it. And I didn't even know how success would look like. But eventually it worked out, and now it has become a revolutionary idea that is helping so many children. And it's a privilege for me to just be the convener, honestly, right? And you know, recently something happened. I got a mail that I was invited to come speak at Oxford University in May. And of course I was excited because if you know where I come from, you know how much like this means to me, that all the way from Isaleodo in Ikorodu to Oxford. I was really excited about it. Now, I've spoken at a lot of events, and last year, I won a lot of awards. In fact, I had to start declining some awards because I was like, I don't want it to be the only metric to like measure success for the Chess and Slums project. Or I didn't want the project to just be about me, but about the children and the vision. Now, when I got that mail, I started thinking about airplanes. When I was a kid, one thing that was always a childhood dream of mine was to fly in an airplane. And so whenever we saw an airplane flying, we'd be like, hey, aeroplane, aeroplane, aeroplane. And I always dreamed of a time when I would be in that plane. And I didn't get to fly till 2020. That was my first time on a plane to Port Harcourt. But before I flew on that plane, I had an opportunity to fly in 2018. And this opportunity came at a time when we had just started the Chess and Slums project. So I was nominated by YLF to go to Uganda for a conference. And I was so excited. My mom came all the way from Ibadan to help me pack my stuff and everything. And on the final day, I declined because we realized that the trip had clashed with a project for Chess and Slums. And what was the project? We wanted the children in the slums to teach career professionals how to play chess. We wanted children that had no education to share the knowledge that they had with people they wanted to be like. We wanted a child in the slums that wanted to be a doctor, to teach an actual doctor how to play chess. And it was important for me to be there for the kids on that day. So I turned down the opportunity and I stayed back. And it was a tough decision to make because it was supposed to be a dream come true for me to get to fly on a plane. So that didn't happen in 2018. But I'm glad I stayed back because guess who didn't miss the flight to their dreams? All the children that participated in that event. And that was the event that the BBC saw and made a documentary about chess in slums. And you can imagine the opportunities it brought for us. People from all over the world are asking how they could volunteer, how they could support the kids. And it helped us get over 50 scholarships for the children then. Now, charity and sacrifice, that's synonymous. And they must coexist. It is important that as you begin your own journey, you must understand the place of sacrifice for giving up temporary pleasures, right, for something that is more grounded. And giving up, my time to travel then was an important sacrifice that I made. But it didn't just stop at that. It taught me to be able to let things go for things that were more important. 5 years down the line now, I've traveled, I hate traveling, oh God. It's always exhausting for me now. But I've been on a plane a lot of times, and I don't like it as much as I thought I would. But guess what? I did it, and I've come this far, right? Because I made the necessary sacrifices at the beginning. Now, for you guys, I guess the lesson here is that we tend as humans to seek validation in the wrong things. And a lot of that is going to happen for you as you begin to transition from this educational system that shields you into the real world. But you must always remember that the true validation is not in people cheering for you. It's not in people giving you awards or nominating you for this or inviting you to come and speak. Even if that doesn't happen, you must remember to live your life every day as a miracle. To know that while you're doing it quietly and no one is paying attention, while you're building all this capacity, while you're putting these things together and nobody sees it and nobody is saying, well done, or you have just 2 followers and 1 like on every post, you're trying to put out stuff into the world, but nobody cares. Just keep at it. For 2 reasons. Because 1, you have unwavering faith in that idea, right? And because you believe that this idea will impact the world in a way that transcends even your own personal ambition, right? And believe in that and live your life every day like a miracle. Because someday, the spotlight will come. And you'll be like Cotty, and you walk into a room and people recognize you, right? And the spotlight will shine on you. And when that moment comes, you get a chance to prove your mettle and show the world what you're truly made of. And when that time comes, you will be ready for it. Do you know why you'll be ready for it? Because in the quiet years, you didn't seek validation in the wrong things, right? And there's this quote about how sometimes, decades just go by and nothing happens. And there are weeks when decades happen, right? So while your decades are going back and nothing is happening, continue to build capacity. Continue to live as if you are experiencing your own success and measure it by the impact of what you do, right? Because at the end of the day, we must begin to rethink our idea of success. It shouldn't be a personal one for us. I'm successful now because of the awards that I've won, but because I'm doing something that 5,000 children out there who have benefited from it. And that is the true essence of our shared humanity. And to come to this place of conviction, you have to have faith in your ideas. You have to think about the things you want to do and how it affects the world. So thank you very much.